Good evening. There are two words that every American concerned about the future of our democracy should be aware of. Election subversion. That is the biggest threat we face right now. Yes, the assault on voting rights is a huge, huge problem, as we've documented on this show, week in, week out. And yes, the myriad and grotesque ways in which local Republicans are perfecting the art of voter suppression is a massive threat to our democracy and to racial equality. But the biggest threat of all, one perhaps shamefully under-discussed in our politics and in our media so far, is the threat of election subversion. To quote elections expert Professor Rick Hasen, it's trying to manipulate the rules for who counts the votes in a way that could allow for a partisan official to declare the loser as the winner. In a new essay for The Atlantic, which I urge you all to read, political scientists Daniel Ziblatt and Steve Levitsky, authors of the acclaimed and rather relevant book, How Democracies Die, issue this stark, blunt, hair-raising warning. Quote, "The greatest threat to American democracy today is not a repeat of January the 6th, but the possibility of a stolen presidential election. Contemporary democracies that die meet their end at the ballot box through measures that are nominally constitutional. The looming danger is not that the mob will return, it's that mainstream Republicans will legally overturn an election. They'll subvert the election in 2024. In fact, many of the laws the GOP are passing at a state level right now will help them do that in 3 years' time. As the New York Times has reported, in Georgia, Republicans are removing Democrats of color from local boards. In Arkansas, they've stripped election control from county authorities. Brad Raffensperger, the Republican Secretary of State in Georgia, who stood up to Trump, has had his powers taken away by the GOP-controlled state legislature. Barbara Sagavsky, the Republican Secretary of State in Nevada, who defended the result in that state for Biden, has since been censured by her own party. One recent study found that 216 bills across the country have been introduced that allow state legislatures to politicize, criminalize, or interfere with elections. 24 of them have already been passed into law. So look, this isn't just about relitigating the 2020 election for Trump. It's about getting ready to successfully subvert the 2024 election. And by the way, every day it looks more and more likely that it will be Trump running in 2024. He just took 70% in CPAC's straw poll tonight. This is, of course, the same candidate who tried to subvert the last election. As Ziblatt and Levitsky point out in The Atlantic, the 2020 election was in effect a dress rehearsal for what might lie ahead, adding that in 2018, when they wrote their landmark study, quote, "We did not consider the GOP to be an anti-democratic party." 4 years later, however, the bulk of the Republican Party is behaving in an anti-democratic manner. The bulk. So what are the Republican Party's opponents, the Democrats currently in control of the White House and both chambers of Congress? What are they doing about it? I mean, yes, there's the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, but neither of those bills set standards to protect election officials and election results from partisan manipulation. Plus, the For the People Act died in the Senate last month because of the filibuster. Now, some Democrats in Congress have introduced the Preventing Election Subversion Act, but we don't hear much about it. And again, the Republicans could just use the filibuster to kill it. So what is the leader of the Democratic Party, the most powerful man on earth? What is President Joe Biden doing about all this? He has talked the talk on democracy.
This is Jim Crow on steroids, what they're doing in Georgia and 40 other states. It's an atrocity. The idea, if you want any indication that it has nothing to do with fairness, nothing to do with decency, they pass a law saying you can't provide water for people standing in line while they're waiting to vote. You don't need anything else to know that this is nothing but punitive, designed to keep people from voting. You can't provide water for people about to vote. Give me a break. Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you. I will defend the Constitution. I'll defend our democracy. I'll defend America.
But can he walk the walk? This coming Tuesday, the president will give a speech, yes, a speech, in Philadelphia on actions to protect the sacred constitutional right to vote. But will it include a proposal to prevent election subversion? Will it explain how he plans to get voting rights protections passed into law, given the filibuster in the Senate? And aren't we running out of time on all this, given our democracy is at stake?